Let's unpack this. We're launching into a deep dive today, and it focuses on, well, a single, really contained moment of violence. A chilling 22-minute timeline that I think offers some stark lessons about preparation versus chaotic reality.
Right.
We're talking about the Clackamas Town Center shooting. It happened December 11, 2012 in Clackamas, Oregon.
And our goal here isn't just, recounting the event step by step.
No.
We really want to dig into the specific source material we have, look at the motivations, and maybe more importantly, the technical failures and the unexpected human factors that really shaped this attack.
Yeah, move past the headlines.
Exactly. Beyond the headlines from back then.
And the most striking thing, I think, is right there at the start. You have this planning, this
Right.
weaponry. It really suggested a huge catastrophe was coming.
It did.
Yet, despite those initial fears, dozens of ambulances were rushed out there expecting mass casualties. The actual act of shooting involved the perpetrator, Jacob Tyler Roberts, firing only 17 shots.
17.
That massive gap, that disparity, that's really where we need to start digging in.
Absolutely. The intent, it seems, was lethal. It was scalable, but the execution, defined by, sporadic action, lots of confusion, and just plain error.
Okay, so let's start with Roberts himself. Jacob Tyler Roberts, he was 22, lived in the Lents neighborhood of Portland.
Right.
And the sources give us these, limited but really important insights into his background. And they suggest this profound sense of rootlessness, maybe grievance too.
Yeah, what stands out right away is how unstable his foundation seems. He was raised by his aunt, Tammy Roberts. This was after his biological mother died young. But he'd been estranged from his aunt since he was 18.
And this wasn't just like typical family friction.
No, not at all. Court records actually show allegations that the aunt misappropriated an inheritance. $18,000.
Wow, $18,000.
Yeah, from his grandmother. That's a huge financial and emotional break right when you're becoming an adult.
But outwardly, he seemed, functional.
Apparently so. He worked at Big Bertha's gyro place in Portland. His boss, his friends, they reportedly liked him.
So you have that split, this simmering internal stuff versus a, reasonably pleasant exterior. It makes understanding what led up to it really difficult.
And that internal ambition versus external reality, it gets amplified by what you call his dashed dreams.
Right.
He really wanted structure. He planned to join the U.S. Marine Corps.
Which, probably would have given him the kind of training he clearly lacked during the attack itself.
Exactly. But that goal just vanished. He had a bicycle accident, broke his foot, and that was the end of the Marines' plan.
That failed military dream. It suddenly makes his choice of, the tactical gear and the high-capacity weapon seem quite different, almost like role-playing.
Maybe. But leading up to the attack, he was definitely building this elaborate escape story. This wasn't impulsive. It was thought out.
Okay, tell us about that.
Well, this is where the planning gets kind of chillingly detailed.
Yeah.
Over the month before, he just systematically got ready. He sold his belongings, even sold a handgun he owned legally. He quit his job.
Okay.
And he spun this whole detailed lie to friends, to colleagues, that he was moving to Hawaii.
Hawaii?
Yeah. He even claimed he'd missed a flight the Friday before the shooting and had to rebook it. Just layers to the story.
Do you think that Hawaii story, was it just to cover his tracks? Or maybe, psychologically, was it some kind of final fantasy? An escape before the end?
Well, looking at the whole picture, it definitely worked as a distraction.
Yeah.
Made sure nobody sounded the alarm when he, disappeared.
Right.
But psychologically, planning this long trip, selling off your life, telling everyone you're off to paradise, it's like the ultimate cognitive dissonance right before you commit mass violence.
He was erasing the life he was about to end.
Exactly.
And speaking of the instruments of that end, we need to be clear about his arsenal. There's an important legal point in the sources here.
Absolutely crucial. The main weapon, the AR-15 style semi-automatic rifle, it was stolen.
Stolen.
Stolen from an acquaintance. So the primary tool for the crime, obtained illegally. But, and this is key, he legally bought the capacity for mass murder.
Wow.
He went out and bought 4 extra 30-round magazines and hundreds of rounds of ammo.
Legally?
Legally, from 3 local places, Walmart, the gun broker, and wholesale sports outdoor outfitters.
So he was stocked up, ready for a sustained fight, even though the rifle itself was stolen.
Precisely. He had the plan to vanish, the likely motive, the supplies for mass casualties. All the pieces were there for that timeline that started at 3:28 p.m.
Okay, let's go there. This critical 22 minutes. So the very last thing he does before heading to the mall, he visits a friend.
Yeah, visits a friend, smokes marijuana, and reinforces that Hawaii lie one last time. Then he drives about 2 miles to the mall, Clackamas Town Center,
And parks where?
kind of discreetly, between the Macy's and a Chipotle. Then, the moment of entry, 3:28 p.m. This really set the tone for the chaos. He ran into Macy's, dressed all in black, armed, and wearing that stark white, expressionless mask.
And what's so wild here is what the sources say about the initial reaction. It wasn't instant panic.
No, it was confusion, total confusion.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the tactical clothes and the mask, people first thought the rifle was fake.
A toy gun.
Yeah, or that the outfit was for paintball or something. That split second, that momentary lapse where people didn't recognize the threat, it let him move in and start firing.
That delay was tragic. He fired, again, only 17 shots total during the whole thing, just targeting people randomly.
The first victim was Cindy Ann Yule, 54 years old, a hospice nurse, a mother of 2, shot in the back.
Did anyone try to help her?
Bystanders did rush to help, yeah. But tragically, she died from her injuries right there.
Just completely random. Devastating.
The second person shot was Christina Shevchenko. Only 15 years old, she was hit in the chest.
Did she?
She survived, miraculously survived.
Okay.
The final person killed was Stephen Forsyth, 45 years old.
Yeah.
He was a youth sports coach, actually the father of future NFL player Alex Forsyth.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He was just sitting near a kiosk, apparently talking to his own father on the phone, when Robert shot him in the head, killed instantly.
Just awful. So chaos erupts.
Absolute chaos. Hundreds fled, terrified, but lots of people were trapped inside, scrambling, hiding wherever they could.
And Robert's accuracy.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Which again points to maybe a lack of real training under that kind of stress. He fired at his 16-year-old employee, Alina Pavlenko. She was over 100 feet away.
Did he hit her?
Missed completely.
And this brings us back to that idea of the failure of execution versus the scale of his intent. The whole assault just stalled.
Near JCPenney.
That's the critical moment right there.
Yeah.
He had all this ammo, all this capacity, but not the competence under pressure.
What happened?
He dropped 3 separate magazines while trying to reload. 3.
Just fumbled them?
Yeah, fumbled them, dropped them. Then he tried to use the rifle again, but apparently it jammed. Right then.
The rifle jammed. Jammed. That's a massive tactical failure. He couldn't keep his weapon working. It's such a stark contrast to how carefully he seemed to plan everything else.
That jam, it basically ends his ability to shoot anyone else, right? And it happens almost exactly when a new factor enters the picture.
The armed civilian.
Yeah. Nick Melai. He had a concealed carry permit.
Right. Melai drew his pistol, a Glock 22, and he later said he took aim directly at Roberts.
But he didn't shoot. And that decision is so important here. He chose not to fire. Why?
The situation was just too dangerous, too volatile. Melai saw an innocent bystander standing directly behind Roberts.
The backstop wasn't clear.
Exactly. Melai couldn't guarantee that person's safety if he fired. So he held his fire. It's this incredible high-stakes, split-second ethical and tactical decision. It prevented a potential crossfire tragedy.
And Melai also claimed Roberts saw him, saw the drawn weapon.
He did. So whether it was the jammed rifle or seeing Melai armed or just the overall chaos getting to him, Roberts immediately broke off the attack.
He ran?
He fled, ran into a back storage corridor, and then remarkably, he runs into an employee there, Roxane Kim.
Had this employee heard the shots?
Apparently not. Hadn't heard the gunfire. Roberts pointed the rifle right at him.
Oh, no.
But he paused. He hesitated. He didn't shoot Kim.
That hesitation's like the final break, maybe? Points the gun, doesn't fire.
Seems like it. Then he ran down a flight of stairs to a lower floor, and there, at 3:50 p.m., he committed suicide.
And the 22 minutes were over.
Just like that. And after the fact, the investigation confirmed that huge disconnect we've been talking about.
Right.
Only 17 rounds fired total, including his suicide shot. But they found another 128 rounds of live ammunition.
Wow.
Still in those dropped magazines, still on his person. He brought enough firepower for a serious, prolonged gunfight. But the whole thing ended fast. Why? Panicked fumbling, a weapon jam, and maybe the presence of that armed civilian.
It really underscores the unpredictability. But the story of Clackamas, it doesn't quite end when those 22 minutes are up, does it? The sources talk about a tragic, longer-term impact, someone not even hit by a bullet.
Yeah, this really speaks to the idea of secondary victims. People physically unharmed, but just shattered psychologically by the event. Her name was Vanessa Ogden.
Well, what's her story?
She was the manager of the Justice store in the mall, and she was pregnant at the time. During the shooting, she acted incredibly bravely, secured shoppers in a back room, kept them safe during the chaos.
Okay, so she was a hero in that moment.
Absolutely. But the immense stress, the trauma she went through,
Yeah.
it led to just heartbreaking consequences later.
What happened?
She was hospitalized after suffering a series of really debilitating strokes. The sources say the causes were unknown, but the link seems clear.
Oh, that's terrible.
She was put on life support, and she died in February 2013, just 2 months after the shooting. Her death, it just drives home that the casualty count from these things goes way beyond who gets hit by gunfire. The toll of that extreme stress and terror is real and can be fatal.
That's a devastating ripple effect. And this incident, it definitely got national attention, right? Partly because of the timing.
Yes, exactly. President Obama actually mentioned the Clackamas Town Center shooting specifically.
When was that?
It was in a national address he gave about the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting, which happened just a few days after Clackamas. So it became part of that much larger, horrifying national conversation about violence and school safety, mall safety.
And the local community responded, too.
They did. The sources mentioned a candlelight vigil. It was held at the mall itself on March 28, 2013.
Was that just about mourning?
It was mourning, yes, but it was also explicitly organized as part of a larger movement. It was one of over 120 events across the country for the National Day of Action to reduce gun violence.
So using the site of the tragedy as a platform.
Exactly. A platform for organized advocacy, a really powerful community response, turning grief into action.
So if we try to pull all these threads together, you've got the grievance, maybe from that inheritance issue. You've got the incredibly detailed planning, selling things, the Hawaii fantasy. And then you have the ultimate failure in execution, the jammed rifle, dropping the magazines. This whole 22-minute event feels fundamentally like a story of failed intent.
I think that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Roberts meticulously planned his exit, planned the attack, supplied himself for mass murder over 145 rounds on him.
Yeah.
But he was essentially defeated by his own poor accuracy, his weapon failing under stress, and maybe the critical factor of an armed civilian confronting him, forcing that retreat. He ended up taking his own life instead of continuing the assault.
It was just such a short, contained rampage, characterized by, like you said, high preparation, but really profoundly low performance in the moment.
Yeah.
Which leaves us and leaves you listening with one final thought to maybe chew on as you process this deep dive.
Given Roberts' meticulous plan, selling his belongings, crafting that whole elaborate Hawaii story, buying all that extra ammo contrasted so sharply with his panicked execution, right? Dropping 3 magazines, the weapon jamming, the relatively low casualty count compared to what he could have done. What does this specific case really reveal about that inherent gap, the gap between a perpetrator's planned violent intent and the chaotic, messy, flawed reality of actually trying to execute that violence when you're under extreme stress? Something to reflect on.
Subscribe for more.